Well, hello and welcome to This Month in Hamilton, our September 2023 edition. I want to start out by thanking, as always, WBCB 1490 AM for allowing us each and every month to bring you what's going on this month in Hamilton, as well as our sponsors. Angelo Onofre in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Radiology Affiliates Imaging, and Saul Funeral Home. A lot going on in town this month, a lot going on next month, so I'm going to get right to it. You've started to see the signs probably go up around town about Oktoberfest. Very excited about that. October 15th at Veterans Park, a rain day to the following Sunday, October 22nd. Got a great lineup, as always. Our recreation and DPW team putting the finishing touches on things, doing a phenomenal job. We had a great turnout last year. I know a lot of that was weather dependent, but had a lot of activities for the kids, a lot of food trucks, all of it. So I'm looking forward to it. I know all of you are looking forward to it. So again, hopefully you started seeing those signs going up around town, but October 15th with a rain date of October 22nd. Have an election coming up. For those of you who vote by mail, you should soon be receiving your vote by mail ballot, so make sure you're on the lookout for that and don't just throw those things away. And again, we have drop boxes around town at Nottingham Ballroom, at the Municipal Building, and then we tape this at the Golf Center, and we've got one of the drop boxes there too. In addition, obviously, you can use regular mail or take it directly into Trenton to the Superintendent of Elections office. So a lot of opportunities to make sure if you vote by mail, you get your ballot in. Speaking of Nottingham Ballroom, last month or earlier this month, we closed and completed our purchase of Nottingham Firehouse, inclusive of Nottingham Ballroom. So a lot of exciting things going on there. I know a lot of people already have events, but you're going to start seeing some improvements to that facility. If you take a ride in the parking lot, our DPW team has already been out there making sure they mill and pave some of the large cracks that were in that space. Over the coming days and weeks, they're going to be repainting the parking lines. So you're going to see a whole new parking lot setup. It's not a new parking lot, but it'll feel and look like a new parking lot. And then we're in the middle of trying to plan some improvements to the inside as we fit them in between different events. So getting the room painted, getting the floors redone in terms of sanding and buffing them. So we're excited to really make that room and bring it some fresh life to the outside through the parking lot changes. And then obviously our firefighters will continue operating out of there as they have done each and every day, as well as our fire prevention office. So a lot of exciting things going on at Nottingham Ballroom and Nottingham Firehouse. We're really excited because it gives people the opportunity who may be having larger weddings to still get married at Scion Gardens and then walk across the street and have their reception at the firehouse and the ballroom there. So very exciting times that way. A lot of other things going on around town. We have October 18th. I want to make sure you put that on your calendar. It's a Wednesday, but we're partnering with Habitat for Humanity as well as Benabone and St. Philip's Baptist Church for another Rock the Block event in that neighborhood. If you recall, we did this 4 years ago, partnering with Habitat and St. Philip's Baptist Church. This year, we've also partnered with Benabone. So Benabone's donating over $50,000 to help homeowners in the area around Hamilton West to get free improvements to their homes. Everything from new front porches, new railings, maybe new paint jobs, all those kinds of things to really spruce up that neighborhood. As you know, Habitat's been very involved in that neighborhood. They've recently built ground up 3 brand new homes, affordable homes for residents to be in. Benabone, their owner, his dad used to live in that community, so they have a connection there as well. So we're really appreciative of Benabone and all they've done with the event. We're appreciative of Habitat, obviously partnering with St. Philip's Baptist Church, which is right there behind Hamilton West as well. but really an exciting time to give back to the community. But what we're going to be looking for and asking for and calling for is volunteers to help with that. We think we need about 100 volunteers to come out that day. I know it's a Wednesday, but it's a great team building event. If you have a business or anything like that, or you're retired and looking for something to do, to really come back and give back to the community, give back to some homeowners who maybe don't have the means, either time, money, resources, or physical ability to do some of these projects on their own, but would really help, again, just spruce up their homes, give them that boost of morale in taking care of that property, and help lift up a neighborhood. So again, Rock the Block, October 18th. You'll be seeing a lot more information about that in the days and weeks to come. This Saturday, September 30th, we also have our Fall in Love with the Shelter Day. We have been in a similar situation with shelters around the country coming out of the pandemic, where we have a shelter that's overcrowded. We've gotten it back to a space where now it's at capacity instead of over capacity in terms of dogs and cats. But we really want to make sure people know about our shelter, know about some of the wonderful animals that are there that are looking for their forever homes, and give those animals the publicity, give them that chance to find their perfect match in an owner, and help make more room for, unfortunately, we know there's going to be animals coming in behind them also looking for that chance at finding a forever home. Many of our animals, unfortunately, are strays who either intentionally or unintentionally have been dumped by their owners. So we want to make sure those animals are taken care of, but they get a better home than what they were in before. So again, fall in love with the shelter at our Hamilton Animal Shelter this Saturday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I hope you can make it there. And then there's just a lot of events going on, even not necessarily Township sponsored. So this weekend's also the Irish Festival over at the Hibernians. We hope you can make it out for that. It's a fantastic day with music and games for kids and food and some adult beverages as well that we hope all of you can get to. It's a great time each and every year, but that's this weekend as well. I'm sure many of you have started to see those signs around the town as well. And then I just want to talk a little bit about some of the projects we have going on in town. So many of you, in terms of construction, right, have seen or heard of the new Chick-fil-A that's coming into Hamilton Marketplace. Ruby Tuesday has been demolished, and so we're well on our way to getting the new Chick-fil-A there. We hope it'll be a great addition. It won't have traffic on many days back up to Route 130. I mean, that's how busy. I know many of you know how busy it was, right? So we're really excited to see that. The Valvoline that's in front of the ShopRite at Route 33, you should start seeing that being demoed sometime in the month of October. And for those on Sloan Ave, you've already started to see the footings go in for the new Checkers that'll be next to Starbucks on Sloan Avenue. So a lot of good construction projects going on in town, giving people options on places to eat and places to go with their kids. And then obviously we have a lot of road construction projects going. So if you or your kids go to Hamilton West or go to Wilson Elementary School, you've probably seen that South Clinton is fully repaved. Last year we paved half of it. This year now we finished the rest of it. We also repaved, thanks to a state grant, East Park, as well put up some new pedestrian flashers or crossing signals, help kids and families get across East Park in a safe way. And then now our team's out on Wilford Avenue, again, right in that same neighborhood, repaving that street, which badly needed it. Trust me, I know your street is probably not in the best condition. We do our best each and every year to get to as many streets as possible. It's partially why we're partnering with Aqua and to a certain degree Trenton Waterworks as they do construction projects in town. They're become responsible for repaving and not just patch jobs. So a lot of good road projects going on in town. Again, we know it's one of our top complaints that we get in town, that roads need repaving. We know it, and we're working not only in ourselves, but also with some of these vendors to get them done. PSE&G obviously did some road repaving on Whitehorse for the work they had done as well. So all of it helps contribute to make our town a little bit better. And I know myself, our administration, and our council are doing everything we can to make sure your infrastructure's in the top place that it can be. And then I want to talk a little bit about our guest today before we take our break, because time here moves very quickly. So we have Kim joining us from the Red Cross. We're here to talk about a lot of different things that the Red Cross does, but part of how this started was I was at the Hibernians. I know we already talked about the Hibernians for a blood drive that they were having, and the conversation started about making sure people are aware of all the different opportunities to give blood, why there's a big need for blood donors, but also want to talk about all the other things that the Red Cross does. Unfortunately, I've been involved in going to some traumatic incidents around town, house fires and the like, and each and every time I go, the Red Cross is there to help families and loved ones and those displaced be able to kind of land on their feet a little bit in their time of need. And then obviously we just experienced it this weekend. We didn't get the hurricane, but it was a hurricane, right? And just talk about some of the preparedness stuff as we find ourselves in the middle of hurricane season this September. And obviously none of us will ever forget Sandy as late as Halloween about a decade ago. So want to talk about all the great things the Red Cross is involved in, all the ways that they can help people who are down on their luck. But again, talk about the ways we can be prepared. So hopefully we don't need them, but even if we do, we're in a better position when we do. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to learn more about the Red Cross in our area and everything they're doing to help us out.
Radiology Affiliates Imaging has been part of the Hamilton community for over 50 years, with two convenient locations, RAI Chi Hamilton and RAI Lawrenceville. We offer expertise in all areas of imaging for all members of your family. Our board-certified specialty radiologists offer expertise in women's imaging, interventional radiology, musculoskeletal and diagnostic radiology. Whether you need an MRI, CAT scan, ultrasound, mammogram, or X-ray, we offer the latest in imaging technology and interpretation. In the last 50 years, RAI has earned our place amongst the largest and most respected radiology groups in our area. For more information on all RAI has to offer, visit www.4rai.com.
Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square.
Hi, this is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I'm proud to help sponsor today's show and promote what's happening in our community. All residents of your hometown should stay involved and participate in community activities, whether it's volunteering to help make your town clean, or volunteering at the animal shelter, or helping at a local youth event. Staying involved in your community makes your hometown a great place to live. This is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. I want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Angelo Honorfree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Radiology Affiliates Imaging, and Saul Funeral Homes. So, Kim, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today.
I'm really happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, well, no, we're happy. And, just before we went to break, I talked a little bit about how this kind of initiated, right? So much in Hamilton happens through the Hibernians. It just shows what an active organization they are, right? But every year they've been doing a blood drive. And I forget how many years, but I know it's been a lot. They've been doing this particular blood drive, right? And one thing leads to another, and here we are today. So, but talk a little bit just about yourself and how you got started at the Red Cross.
Sure, absolutely. So I am a Mercer County resident myself, and I have been for a couple of decades now. And, you know, the Red Cross has been this amazing opportunity and ride for me. I've been with the Red Cross 11 plus years. I started actually before Superstorm Sandy.
Okay.
It's an interesting way to start at the Red Cross, as you can imagine. And I've held a few different roles, and prior to being at the Red Cross, I've had great opportunities to work at different nonprofit organizations, national organizations focusing on health, national organizations focusing on housing. And so then the Red Cross felt like a great fit for me. Part of the reason I was attracted to it is the blood program specifically. And then when I started to get used to it and kind of get comfortable in it, I couldn't believe the power of our volunteers. And that's sort of what keeps me coming in every day.
Wow.
You know, we're 90% volunteer driven.
Wow.
So most of the time when you engage with a Red Crosser, that's a person, one of your neighbors who volunteers with the organization, gets trained to do the job they're doing. And they're just some of the best people around.
They're coming out at 6 in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, whatever, right?
Yeah, 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
you name it, right? So they really are, it's truly an organization that takes neighbors who want to help one another and gives them a great lane to do that work, you know, in whatever segment of the Red Cross they wish to participate in. And so, you know, it's been an amazing opportunity. I've met just some of the best people possible. Yeah, so I'm happy to be doing it, and coming out to Hamilton is right around the corner for me, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, nice easy commute this morning
It was.
too for you. Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, it's not the case. But we are the Central New Jersey chapter. We're part of the New Jersey region, so we're very much a local organization.
So what does that cover, Central Jersey?
Well, that's always a debate.
Well, it is, right? But what is your specific Central Jersey
Sure.
cover? I have my definition. I'm sure
I know.
you have yours
I think
too.
Hamilton folks would appreciate the fact that we also agree that Central New Jersey exists. It's Mercer, Middlesex, Somerset, Hunterdon, Union, Monmouth, and Ocean here in New Jersey. So it's a big area.
That's a huge area.
Certainly a diverse geography. We've got, you know, coastline and over here on the west side and everything in between.
Yeah.
So it's a big area for sure, which is why we rely on so many great volunteers to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Monmouth and Ocean, right, you're talking essentially 2/3 of the Jersey Shore is under your jurisdiction, right?
Yeah,
and starting there a year before Superstorm Sandy and having that, I'm sure was a trial by fire, so to speak.
Yeah, you know, that's a fun Red Cross pun, to say the least. But it is, and you know, you really see the good work that people want to do, and we've learned a lot as an organization too. So I've seen changes in just the decade that I've been here. We're over 140 years old.
Wow.
So we continue to shift and move and you know, evolve just the same as all of us do, so that we can continue to meet the needs of people.
Now, you talked already about volunteers, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to volunteer, is thinking of volunteering, regardless of what area, or maybe they don't even have an idea, right? But they just want to try to get involved. What's the best way for them to find some information on how to volunteer? Yeah,
so obviously our website is I'm going to point to that a few times probably in our conversation.
Please do so.
redcross.org/volunteer is a great place to get started. And what we do, you can put your zip code in, and it'll give you a list of volunteer opportunities that are most needed right now.
Oh, good.
You can fill out, you know, some basic information and talk to somebody. So we have volunteer team members who really engage with people who are entering the Red Cross and don't know where to go or have a specific skill set, or maybe they want to be client facing and they want to be on one of those disaster action teams we started to talk about, but maybe they want to do, you know, back of the house work, you know, data analysis and things like that. And so we have a little bit of everything, and we can kind of pinpoint and help you figure out how much time you have to give and what kind of work you might want to do. So we're in need of volunteers all the time. There's 4,000 Red Cross volunteers in New Jersey.
Just in New Jersey, 4,000.
Just in New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you can imagine they do a wide range of programs, and and some, you know, can give an hour a week, and some give 20 plus, and you know, some of them are those overnight folks, but not everybody is. And so there's different different roles to play.
So no matter what your skill set or where you are in life or anything like that, there's a potential to volunteer with the Red Cross here in Central New Jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. And we even have Red Cross clubs. So we have high schools and colleges who have clubs at their school. We have a youth council for students who are interested in getting involved. So even at a younger age, we find that some of our volunteers get involved and get started that way.
Wow. And then in terms of, your staff, right? How big is, for Central New Jersey, how many paid employees kind of do you have?
Very few, honestly.
Puts that emphasis on the volunteers, right?
It really does. We call our volunteer staff. So we have a paid and an unpaid workforce.
Okay.
But we're all Red Cross staff. And if you're on a disaster operation, we have a command structure, if we were to scale, and we can talk about some of that. But I might report to a volunteer in that system who has more experience.
Sure.
So it's a really interesting kind of space, but that is truly the mission of the organization.
You're fluid that way too, which kind of allows you to be nimble and adjust to whatever the situation is, right?
Yeah, we have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about blood drives, right? I mean, that's been kind of the start of how we got you here today, right?
Yeah.
But partnering with a nonprofit organization in the Hibernians, but I'm sure this is happening across your Central Jersey region and across the country for the Red Cross as well. So how do the Red Cross kind of get involved, or what's their involvement in the blood drive? Because so many people like myself, we go there, we stick out our arm, and then we get our little snack and we leave, and we don't know what happens after that or before it,
Yeah. Well, thank you for being a blood donor. We appreciate that, and we appreciate, all of the organizations across this town and across the county and really across the state who do host blood drives for us. We collect and are responsible nationwide for about 40% of the nation's blood product supply.
Wow.
So we're the largest blood banking organization in the country. That's a lot of responsibility, right? And I think many of us can appreciate and know that blood can't be manufactured. We can't create it. It has a limited shelf life. And so we have to make sure that we're collecting the amount of blood that the hospitals and transfusion centers need for patient care. And we have to keep that blood supply safe. So we have, an incredible network and logistics kind of focus to make sure that all of those things can happen. So a donor can show up with their appointment, right? Stick their arm out on the table and get their Lorna Doone or their snack or whatever your choice is.
Cheez-Its for me. Cheez-Its are good. Yeah, just saying.
Yeah, whatever. We could have a whole personality assessment on the snack selection of our blood donors. But, so one of the things that we do, I would say in New Jersey and in the Philadelphia area, we're sort of we hub together. We have to collect 600 units of blood a day.
Wow.
So that's a pretty impressive number, as you might imagine. We're actually in a national blood shortage right now at the American Red Cross. And so much of that has to do with the month of August. We can appreciate, right?
Everybody's on vacation.
Yeah, we have a lot going on in the month of August here in the area and really across the country. And some of that, in addition, is due to other weather events that are happening around the country. So if we have tropical storm systems that are impacting and canceling blood drives in the southeast, for example, the Red Cross is such a large organization that we can bring blood products around to meet needs, but then it can put us at a deficit. So we're really calling on all of your residents and everyone across the country who's interested in donating blood to consider jumping online. They can go to redcrossblood.org. It's a great opportunity to put your zip code in. You get this great running list of open drives and where you can make an appointment. It has all of the information about eligibility and frequently asked questions and things that you might need to know. And so we really want people to be comfortable, but we'd love for you to make an appointment if you're eligible and give blood. And if you're not eligible, maybe you could ask somebody to give on your behalf and help us, meet the needs of our hospitals.
How do people go about contacting you to start a drive, right? So if a nonprofit organization wants to, they haven't done it before, right? And they're hearing about the Hibernians, and they're like, well, we can do that too, right? Like, how does that conversation even start?
Sure. So they can go on redcrossblood.org, and there's a widget somewhere in there where you could say, I'm interested in hosting a blood drive. And we have a great team of folks who will come out. Blood drives are regulated. So blood collection and the entire process is a healthcare process. So it's highly regulated. We want to make sure that the donor and the sponsoring organization is successful. So we'll come out and check out the space and make sure it has the right size and air conditioning and plugs and all the things that we would need to host the drive. And then we would start working on our calendar and find a date that makes sense. And then, we'll staff to the need, and then we give you all the tools, right? So the flyers and the special words or the QR codes or whatever it is that you need as an organization to attract donors to come out. But that's really how we do the majority of our collections.
Is through partnering with other organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, here in Mercer County, we do have our Princeton blood location. So we have a fixed donor site here locally.
Where's that?
It's on Alexander Road.
Okay.
So West Windsor. And there, the additional thing that you can do is schedule a platelet donation. So platelet donations happen at our fixed sites. We do have a few fixed sites throughout the state. That's a longer process, but it's a different kind of blood unit. We see platelets get transfused often for cancer patients, for example. And what makes platelets unique is that they only have a 5-day life.
Oh, wow.
So from arm to arm, we don't have a lot of time.
Wow.
So we're constantly recruiting platelet donors who can come in and make that very special donation to help patients in need that week. So
yeah, I mean, it's been my start about donating blood, right? I had my best friend growing up had cancer, right? And when he got his transfusion of blood, that was like a rush of energy for him, right? But I know he also needed the platelet ones too, right? And it was so important in managing when he was in the hospital and all of that. So I think a lot of people have connections like that, right? Which is why it's personal for a lot of people to donate blood or take the time out of their busy schedule to donate blood because they know somebody who either needs it at that moment, needed it in the past, et cetera, right? It's kind of a pay it forward type of thing.
It is, absolutely. I think that is what motivates most donors. It's some personal connection, whether that be somebody that they love who had cancer or has cancer, had an accident, childbirth. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people need emergency transfusions. I have some of those personal connections as well, and so it's a huge motivation for me, as I stated when I got started. But, I think that there's a few other key things that the Red Cross is always looking at. For example, we're at the tail end of September, but it is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. 2/3 of kids with cancer who are in treatment need transfusions.
Wow.
So it's pretty regular. We have some great hospital partnerships. And one of the neat things, if you download the blood donor app as part of the process for donating blood, it'll actually tell you where your blood went.
Wow.
Which I think is a great thing for a donor to sort of know which hospital system received the blood and, what's happening with it. It doesn't track down to patient, obviously. There's HIPAA and other things.
Yeah. But to know you're helping somebody in a specific area, right?
Yeah. And so we think about those patients. We certainly have a number of blood drives that are held in honor or memory of people who have suffered cancer. And it's also Sickle Cell Awareness Month. And so that's something that the Red Cross has taken an active role in. We're doing our best to recruit and educate Black and African American donors to come out. Sickle cell impacts about 100,000 people across the country. They require up to 100 transfusions a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And when you're getting transfusions that regularly, there's more than A, B, and O. We know our blood types, right? There are A, B, and O, there's positives, things like that. But when you're receiving blood regularly, we have to do a little bit more research to make sure that antigens match you as well as they can be matched. So there's additional typing and testing that goes on when a person comes to donate and they designate their race and ethnicity on that questionnaire. And often we find that they're a better match for sickle cell patients. So we're able to give that patient the best health outcomes because they're getting a really good match. So we're also doing a number of things in the research field as well.
Makes you know that when you fill out that form, it's more than just checking a box real quick, right? There's a reason behind a lot of the questions, even if it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We want to make sure people are getting the best match and the best healthy outcomes. And, sometimes it's emergency and you're going to get that O negative because anybody can take that.
Sure.
But if it's part of your health care, it's a different story.
Absolutely. Well, Kim, we got to take a short break. I know all we did was talk about blood drives, but that's an important thing, right? But there's still a lot more to talk about, and we're going to get to it just after this short break, and we'll be back with you.
to grow. Wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Merrill Reese here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. We want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Angela Wanafree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Radiology Affiliates Imaging, and Saul Funeral Home. So, Kim, just to follow up on one thing on blood drives, right? The address for the Alexander Road facility, this way, people don't have to wait for a drive if they want to go donate. What is it?
No, absolutely. Our Laura Gund Blood Donation Center is located at 707 Alexander Road.
Perfect.
It's Suite 101, so it's right over there when you, if you're going northbound on Route 1, take that Alexander Road exit, and we're right there.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So moving now to a different topic, right? Obviously, we felt the after effects of a hurricane, tropical storm, whatever you want to call it, this weekend. And knock wood, it didn't really hit us directly or as bad as what it could have been, right? But the Red Cross is involved in disasters. It sounds bad to say, but you need an organization there to help people as they're going through a disaster, right? So talk about the Red Cross's role in helping people through disaster relief, disaster preparedness. Mm-hmm. I know that's a lot, right? But we'll just kind of talk a little bit about disaster relief.
Yeah, absolutely. So the American Red Cross is probably best known for those two things, right? We talked about blood, and then we talk about large-scale disaster. So if you see the hurricane or the wildfires or tornadoes, you're often going to notice that the Red Cross is there providing shelter or what we call mass care. So it's feeding and things like that.
And by the way, they're quickly, like not there like a week later, but they're like that day.
Before, usually. Yeah. So the Red Cross, and I brought this up when we started, we're a local organization. We're a large organization, but we have all these volunteers here in New Jersey. So before a weather event happens, especially when we have notice, right? So if we see a hurricane forecasted coming up the coast, we're able to move resources and assets into theater for that disaster. We had I think it was last weekend, though my weekends are rolling together, we were watching a hurricane that was coming up the coast, and we were concerned that Hurricane Lee was going to have an impact in Maine. And so we actually had volunteers from New Jersey and around the Northeast pre-deploy into that area in case there needed to be evacuation shelters, because that's part of our duty, right, to serve our neighbors, is to be there before, during, and after a disaster. But, one of the things I think most people don't realize about us, and you brought this up in your intro, the Red Cross is responding to a disaster every 8 minutes.
Wow.
We responded to over 1,000 disasters last year in New Jersey. The majority of those are home fires. So the work that we do regularly, several times a day here in New Jersey, is a different kind of scaling process than when you see us at those hurricanes or those big events. But one thing is true, right? We're taking care of people on what is really one of the worst days for them. We have a disaster action team. So back to those volunteers, we have trained volunteers from our towns right here in our communities who are on call. They take shifts 24/7. So if we are dispatched out to a fire by a fire department or, emergency managers or whatever the circumstances, we're often on scene taking care of those family members, sometimes before the fire truck pulls away.
Yeah.
And you can imagine that scene. You have family members who maybe it's 2 a.m, it's winter. They left their house in their pajamas, right? They may or may not have shoes on their feet. They may have lost really everything in their home. We're giving them blankets and warm socks or whatever the circumstances is, getting them out of the climate that they might be in, whether it's hot or cold or whatever, and listening and trying to understand what they need right now. Because they may have resources that will kick in tomorrow. They might have resources that'll kick in next week, but we want to make sure that they have a place to go tonight, right then. Our volunteers have at the ready emergency assistance, so we actually can provide financial assistance on the spot to a family.
Wow.
They can decide, if they have a place to go tonight, but they need to replace their child's,
diapers or whatever, right?
wardrobe, right? School, whatever the case is, they can utilize that funding that's provided by the generosity of the American public, by the way, to their needs, right? Because every person's recovery system is unique. We have case managers who, can check in with folks and make sure that they're getting what they need and making sure that they can build their own recovery. We want to give people the ability and the control to kind of carve out what's next for them, because that's different for every family. So we do have those situations that are happening every single day, and it is next month. There's always a month, right? There's always
a week or month or day for everything. I've learned that, yes.
Yeah, Fire Prevention Week happens in October, and so we as an organization really want to talk to folks about making sure that they take an active role in making sure that they can prevent a fire at home, and then if it does happen, that they can escape safely. So, there are a number of things that are in that list, but the two key features is that you have to have working smoke alarms. You've got to check them regularly, change the batteries, put new ones in. And if you can't do that, you can actually go through the Red Cross, and we can help provide those to people if they don't have them themselves, as part of our home fire campaign. But also realize that you only have about 2 minutes to escape. It's not a lot of time.
No.
And so you need to run those practice drills at home, especially in my house. Like, we have 2 little girls. We have to practice because I want to make sure that they can get out and get to that meeting spot.
Sure.
So everybody's ready to go if the worst thing happens.
Now, you talked a little bit about providing financial assistance, right? Which made me think of money and getting it from the American public. So certainly there has to be some aspect of fundraising and donations and all of that make all of this happen, right? Yeah. So talk about how people, if they can't volunteer, right? And even though there's a multitude of reasons, but maybe they're got 2 kids and they're running around the soccer and Little League and all those dance recitals, etc. That people are really busy, right? But there's a financial way people can give back too. How do they go about doing that?
Yeah. So the Red Cross is an organization that accepts contributions from the American public. You can go on redcross.org. You can find a donation opportunity that meets your interests. So we do have 5 lines of service. You can identify, our Central New Jersey chapter. Maybe you want it to stay to your local chapter. Maybe you want to give to a particular disaster. Whatever that is of interest to you, you're welcome to make a contribution. And I can tell you with certainty that those donations go back out into our community for programs and services. 90 cents of every dollar is reinvested into our service delivery mission. So, certainly in times of large disaster, we see people give with their hearts. I think many of us, we think about, the Hawaii wildfire. That was an heartbreaking.
Large-scale traumatic
situation for people. And many of us, on the East Coast were watching, right? And many generous donors contributed money, and we were able to rather quickly get that back into the hands of the community.
That's awesome. You talked about something else, right? Training your volunteers go through when they're deployed to that traumatic event, something large scale like a Superstorm Sandy or the Maui fires, but even just, I've seen your volunteers at our local fires, right? And it's right, they're there before the fire trucks are gone. They have to do it with sympathy and empathy and understanding the mental trauma and emotional trauma that somebody is going through too. So they get training on that as well, I assume?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, people who wish to do this kind of work are really special human beings. They really are. And I said it before and I'll say it, every time I have the opportunity, I'm amazed and humbled by our volunteers. They're some of the best people I've ever met. And it is emotionally draining.
Sure.
To do that work and to be strong and to give somebody the support that they need. And we have health and mental health and spiritual care workers and volunteers on our team as well. And we're checking in with our clients. They also check in with our volunteers.
That's
so
good.
we take care of one another.
Yeah.
In that circumstance, because some circumstances are more, they're heavier than others.
Sure.
Certainly. And you want to be respectful and be a support structure for clients as they need it, but we also have to unpack it ourselves, and it's hard.
Yeah.
So we do have training, certainly, and we do have best practices, and we have, you might become new to the volunteer role, and you're not going to go out by yourself with,
Yes.
somebody that doesn't know. So we make sure you have a buddy system and there's a team involved to make sure it's good for you, because we want it to be a good experience for our volunteers as well. We rely on them so heavily.
Yeah, and they're cast into those traumatic incidents and, large or small, right? But
They are.
for any particular person they're dealing with at that moment, as you said, that's probably one of the worst days of their life at that moment.
Yeah, it really is. It's, we had, certainly we're doing the home fires, and I'm calling them smaller disasters in that they impact fewer people at a time. They're not a small disaster to that family by any means, so I don't want to make it sound that way. But we do give our volunteers opportunities to deploy. So we've had volunteers from New Jersey. They drive our emergency response vehicles to Florida so that they can feed families in neighborhoods as they're mucking out their houses. They're serving hot meals. They're working in shelters. They're going to Hawaii. They're doing casework. And the Red Cross has started to do a lot of really great things with, technology, which is wonderful.
Yes.
So we've had some virtual deployments where you can do some work over the phone. We've used, drone footage and other things like that we've needed. So we've been able to continue to adapt, to my point earlier. And so we have volunteer opportunities that are in person, all over the place if you want to. You don't have to.
Sure.
But some people just love doing it, and they feel, you watch TV and you're like, how can I help that person?
There's a way.
There's a way to do it. Yeah.
Good. Well, Kim, we're going to take our last break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about, how people can prepare or mitigate for some of these disasters, large or small, right? And we talked a little bit already about just smoke alarms and things like that. But I know that's now at the forefront of the Red Cross too, right? Trying to prevent some of these incidents you hope you don't have to respond to, kind of thing. So we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we're going to finish up with Kim from the Red Cross.
Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Radiology Affiliates Imaging has been part of the Hamilton community for over 50 years, with 2 convenient locations, RAI Chi Hamilton and RAI Lawrenceville. We offer expertise in all areas of imaging for all members of your family. Our board-certified specialty radiologists offer expertise in women's imaging, interventional radiology, musculoskeletal and diagnostic radiology, Whether you need an MRI, CAT scan, ultrasound, mammogram, or X-ray, we offer the latest in imaging technology and interpretation. In the last 50 years, RAI has earned our place amongst the largest and most respected radiology groups in our area. For more information on all RAI has to offer, visit www.4rai.com.
Hi, this is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I'm proud to help sponsor today's show and promote what's happening in our community. All residents of your hometown should stay involved and participate in community activities, whether it's volunteering to help make your town clean, or volunteering at the animal shelter, or helping at a local youth event. Staying involved in your community makes your hometown a great place to live. This is Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoyed today's show.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. I want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Angelo Honorfree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Radiology Affiliates Imaging, and Saul Funeral Homes. So, Kim, I know we've talked a lot about volunteers, right, and all the great work they're doing, and how no matter your skill set and things like that, there's a spot for you at the Red Cross, right? But are there particular kinds of volunteers that you generally need, or skill sets you generally need more than others?
Yeah, so you're right. Anybody can volunteer with the Red Cross, and I mean that almost exclusively, but we do always look for really particular skill sets. For example, we have a need for nurses, licensed nurses, to come out and volunteer with the Red Cross. There's a few different roles that nurses play, but one is that they are so supportive during disasters. So when you think about the health and mental health needs of clients who have faced a disaster, one thing you might not realize is that if you are fortunate enough to escape with your life, you may not have escaped your disaster with your eyeglasses, with your prescriptions, with your durable medical equipment, or you're trying to help your family members.
Your
you might not have those
insulin
things.
or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so the nurses who work with us in times of disaster are able to support families and support disaster clients to relocate and get those things that are so needed, right? I mean, some people, it's not, you don't want to go a day without some of those really important pieces to your health care. And so we are always looking for licensed professionals to help us with that. It's a great place for folks, and I know how busy nurses are. My sister's a nurse. You're all amazing. But if you have some time to give, or if you're retired and you're looking for a way to give back, this is a great place for you, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about what people can do to put themselves in the best spot to prepare for a disaster, right? A lot of the disasters we've talked about, you can't prevent, right? You can't prevent hurricanes from coming through and things like that, but you can certainly put yourself, your family, your loved ones in a better position to withstand a disaster. So how does the Red Cross get involved in that?
Absolutely. Disaster cycle services at the Red Cross is just that. So we certainly respond to disaster. We help people recover from disaster. But the other piece to that bucket is preparedness. We intend to build resiliency in communities, and that starts with households and individuals. So we want individuals to take time to think about their own plans for disaster, to have conversations with everyone in their household about it. You know, sometimes we're very busy, and I'll do this myself. In my head, I know where things are in my house. But if I haven't told everyone else in my household where to find those items, you know,
flashlight and things like that even,
absolutely.
Right?
So we look at Be Red Cross Ready. It's a program that the Red Cross has. You can find more information at redcross.org/preparenj, like New Jersey. PrepareNJ has a tremendous amount of resources and lists that you can actually review with your family and print off. We are always looking for people to get kits. So we talk about two kinds of kits. One is a stay kit, stay-at-home kit. You know, there's a storm coming up the coast, and we've been asked to stay in place, shelter in place, they may say. We want you to be able to be sufficient for several days because the power might go out. You know, we've seen that happen. The roads nearby might flood. The cables or the trees on the main road may go down. And so we want to make sure that people have everything that they need in their home so that they can be safe and as comfortable as reasonably possible. So we think about things like water. The suggestion is to have a gallon of water per person or pet a day in your house. That's a lot of water.
Yes.
If you think about it. One thing that I find handy is if you have young people in your house, give them the task of updating your disaster kit. So if you have like one of those storage totes and it lives in your basement or in a closet and it has snacks, it has your can opener, preferably a hand crank radio or a weather radio. I had to tell my 9-year-old how a radio works. You can all appreciate
what a radio is, right? Yeah.
But so that's a fun thing to do as well. But I tease aside, we want to make sure that people have access to information. And when things happen in a large scale event, you can almost always get information from our radio waves. So having basic things like that are important. You want to make sure that you have sustainable snacks that you don't have to cook, but your family will eat. You want to make sure that you have medication. If you do have extra medication, backup glasses, extra durable medical equipment, you want to have those things on hand and ready to go. You also want to create a go kit. You might have a go kit that lives in your car in case you're on the road and you need to evacuate or reroute because you can't make it home. You want to have a go kit that's ready somewhere in an easy to access place. And those things may be similar. You want to have maybe some snacks or change of clothes. If you have little kids, make sure you have stuff for them, right? Diapers and whatever the circumstances are. Medication. It's handy for folks who are taking medication to keep a list of that medication so that if you do access or enter a Red Cross shelter, for example, that people in the shelter can help you.
Those nurses we talked about, right? Yeah.
What medications you have. We think about our pets. They're part of our family too. So we want to make sure that you're thinking about what would we do with our pets? How do we keep our pets safe? Often we partner with emergency management and other agencies to shelter pets. It's usually not inside the same shelter, right? So to speak, there's a lot of reasons for that. But, you want to work through all of those pieces so that you have food for your pet or whatever whatever your pet needs or requires, that you have some backup resources for them too.
And I know talking about this stuff, right, we think generally here in New Jersey about hurricanes, right? And we get 2, 3, 4 days notice before a big one hits. But unfortunately, recently we've become Kansas almost in Tornado Alley, right? I know Lawrence has had them, Hamilton's had them, and you don't get time to prepare or go to ShopRite or Wegmans or wherever to load up on gallons of water or extra dog food, etc. Right? You'd need that stuff ready, probably in the basement, because that's where you're going if something like that happens, right?
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
It just puts a further emphasis on almost an emergency preparedness kit rather than I can plan a day or two beforehand kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right. We have great forecasting. I think it caught many people in New Jersey by surprise by the number of tornadoes that touched down in the last year. It is not my favorite place to be.
No.
In my basement. It is so important to do that. I would recognize, because of these weather situations and things are always changing, I encourage everyone to download the Red Cross Emergency app. It's a free app. You can find it on your marketplace. You can search Emergency Red Cross. What makes that app a little bit different is two key things. One, it has information about preparedness baked into the app. So you can find great resources and learn more about weather emergencies. The other thing you can do in that app is you'll get those real-time weather alerts. You know how it might be the National Weather Service will push, a flash flood warning or a tornado warning to your phone. You can track multiple locations in the emergency app.
Oh, wow.
So if your kids are in college or your parents live in another town or whatever the circumstances for you and your family, you can track their locations too. And you'll get weather alerts for you and wherever you are, as well as home and loved ones, which I really personally like. One of the tornadoes that came through Mercer County, I was in our Monmouth County office.
Oh, wow.
But I was able to call home and say, I think you're in a tornado warning. Is everybody in the basement? Are you okay? And so it was giving me real-time information no matter where I was.
Wow.
So we really encourage people to make sure that they have good access to information and turn all of those alerts on. And if you get one of those alerts, to follow those words very seriously.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've seen, right, the tornadoes are real. They're not, I remember the first time they talked about them, I'm like, we don't get tornadoes here, right? But we've seen the damage they can cause, right? And knock wood, there hasn't been loss of life from them, but there easily could have been, depending, if people were in a bad spot at that time.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah, it's very scary. It's very scary. So, but I think a lot of people don't think of the Red Cross on the preparedness side, right? And so you've got an organization that's got those tools at the ready to kind of guide parents, guide families, guide parents who are caring for their parents now, right? People who are caring for their elderly parents now, and how to make sure they're in the best situation possible as well.
Yeah, it's certainly, it's a topic that shouldn't be pushed off, right? So we have 1 week left of National Preparedness Month. I always tease about that a little bit, but there is always a good time to prepare. So if you have time to do that today and do a few things, please do it. If you have kids at home, one thing I will tell you is that the Red Cross has embraced this adorable penguin named Pedro. We have a Prepare with Pedro module. You can download it online. It's available on YouTube. You can actually go to redcross.org/preparewithpedro. Pedro tells kids about disaster in a really age-appropriate way. It's a hard conversation to have with young ones, I think. So it's not intended to frighten them, but it is intended to give them good information and tell them how to prepare and how to cope. So it's a good way to start that conversation in your family. It certainly walks them through all the things that they need to do and think about, but it's a good way to broach the topic and to begin the process of preparing and practicing escape planning and things like that that are important to your household.
Do you have some of these in other languages as well?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah.
Good.
So the emergency app toggles really easily back and forth to Spanish. Most of our content online has multiple languages.
Awesome.
And our Be Red Cross Ready programs and printable packets are certainly available in many languages.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Central Jersey is a very diverse area, right? And so, for your volunteers that are going out to a scene, for lack of a better term, they don't know what they're going to encounter, right? Who the families are, what their backgrounds are, what language they speak. So they've got to be prepared for when they're going out as well. And I'm sure that helps them too.
Yeah.
Handle that situation.
Central New Jersey is diverse and it's wonderful. And we just want to make sure that everybody can be met where they are with a language that they speak, culturally competent. I mean, all of those things are really important. And so that comes with preparedness as well as disaster response.
Absolutely. So Kim, I want to thank you really much for joining us today. Give a shout out to and a plug for your website again and how people can get in touch, especially if they want to stay local, right? How they can get in touch with you and your team as part of the Central New Jersey Red Cross.
Sure. So if they go to redcross.org/NJ, that'll give you a landing page for everything New Jersey Red Cross, all of the opportunities right there with some easy to hit buttons, and you should be able to access everything we talked about today.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you a lot.
Thank you.
I want to say go Mets to you.
Oh, yeah. Go Phils. We had a little side conversation. So.
Yes. So I know that debate, the Mets don't have anything to talk about after this weekend. So that's all I'll say. But Kim, really want to thank you for joining us today. A lot of great information to share with people listening, to people watching. So really appreciate it and you helping them out.
Thanks so much for having us on and sharing great information.
Awesome. Thank you. Want to thank WBCB 1490 AM for allowing us each and every month to bring you This Month in Hamilton, as well as thank our sponsors one more time. Angela Wanafree in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Radiology Affiliates Imaging, and Saul Funeral Homes. And we will see you next month in October.